Thank you, everyone, for coming. We certainly appreciate you being able to make the time today. Certainly appreciate all my colleagues from across the nation making their way to P.E.I. for these 2 days of meetings. We started out with a provincial territorial meeting to get our alignment, and that was on Tuesday. And today, of course, we met with Minister Champagne on everything that's going on from his perspective, and then we were able to bring some things forward to the table as well from the provincial and territorial perspective. So a very productive day. We covered a lot of ground. We talked about a lot of cost pressures that we're facing as provinces and territories, but also a lot of the conversation steered around growth in Canada and what we can do to boost our economy, which will help solve a lot of those cost pressures. So we covered a lot of ground. I always talk here in P.E.I. about priorities, and we certainly talked about the priorities that we think Canadians have before us and how we can respond to them. So we did a lot of discussion around that. We feel really good about it. We feel aligned, and collaboration is a word that's thrown out there a lot. But I would say yesterday's table and today's table did show true collaboration, and I really look forward to the progress we can see. So thank you, Mr. Champagne, for coming into Charlottetown. And P.E.I., we did our best to host. P.E.I. is known for its hospitality. We always say if we can just get you here once, we know you'll come back. So I think we've done that, and look forward to our next opportunity. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Jill, on behalf of all the colleagues. This was a very productive federal, provincial, territorial meetings. I want to thank all the colleagues, the premiers as well, who have joined us. This has been a very fruitful meeting. A number of us have attended these meetings for a number of years, and we can say, Jill, thank you to your leadership. I want to applaud your leadership to gather everyone here in Charlottetown. You're right, once you're in the island, it's very difficult to leave, I can tell you, and we even brought the sunshine, and so thank you for a great venue that has really brought the essence of why we were meeting. For those watching at home, I can tell you there's a great sense of unity among the finance ministers around the country. There's a great sense of urgency as well in action to seize the opportunities and possibilities we're seeing, and a great sense of understanding among each other about the priorities, about what we need to do to ensure that we would bring growth, competitiveness around the nation. How can we perfect our work to build one Canadian economy, removing the provincial trade barrier, expanding to overseas market, making sure that we have policies that would complement each other when it comes to workforce development, when it comes to procurement, when it comes to resiliency of our systems. I can tell you, when you spend a day like that together, you realize that we are fortunate to be Canadians, that we live in a country which attracts tremendous amount of talent. And I was just here before the meeting in the life sciences sector and seeing the great people we attract across the nation, but here in Prince Edward Island, realizing also that we have great industries. We're one of the few countries in the G7, even in the G20, that can build a car from end to finish, that can build a plane from end to finish, that can build a ship from end to finish, that can certify a nuclear power plant, certify a plane, and certainly making sure that we also build on the great advantage we have with respect to critical minerals. We're one of the few nations in the world which has all the critical minerals that are going to fuel the economy of the 21st century. We have abundance of energy, and we looked at a number of things that we can further together, from conventional energy to renewable energy to nuclear, and certainly taking advantage of the fact that Canada is the only G7 country which has a free trade agreement with all the other G7 nations around the world, which give us a competitive advantage. So in that context, I want to say thank you to my colleagues. We are stronger together. And when we work together, Canadians feel the difference. We also talk about affordability, obviously, very conscious that whilst we're building our economy, that we're building our industry, that we're creating opportunities for workers across the nation, that we need to be mindful of the reality of people. The cost of food, the cost of gas, the cost of rent is certainly top of mind to Canadians. And I think that we were able to look at what we've been doing, making sure that in every decision we take, we put people first. And certainly, I want to thank my colleagues for the great collaboration. This is how this federation should be working, us coming together, united in purpose, united in the sense of urgency that we need to put in our action, and having a common understanding of the opportunities ahead. So, je vais dire quelques mots en français aussi. Je veux remercier mes collègues. D'abord, la ministre de l'île du Prince-Édouard, merci de nous avoir reçus chez vous, de nous avoir offert l'hospitalité de l'île du Prince-Édouard. Une très, très bonne rencontre fédérale, provinciale, territoriale. Je veux remercier aussi les premiers ministres des territoires qui sont avec nous, mes collègues. Un travail important, je disais, nous sommes unis dans nos actions, unis aussi dans ce sens que nous devons travailler ensemble pour créer de la croissance, de la compétitivité à travers le pays. On a aussi un sens d'urgence dans nos actions pour livrer pour le Canada. Et puis je dois dire aussi qu'on a une compréhension commune des enjeux. Moi, je pense que le travail qu'on a fait, puis je veux remercier l'ensemble de mes collègues pour un travail important qu'on fait pour les Canadiens et Canadiennes. C'est toujours le Canada, malgré ce que les gens peuvent voir comme certains enjeux géopolitiques, le Canada est très résilient, l'économie canadienne est résiliente. On a la chance d'attirer les meilleurs talents chez nous. On est un des rares pays de G7 avec des industries fortes dans l'automobile, dans l'aviation, dans le secteur maritime, dans les sciences de la vie, dans l'intelligence artificielle. On a la chance d'avoir les minéraux critiques qui vont nous permettre justement de profiter des opportunités de l'économie du 21e siècle. On est une des puissances énergétiques. On est capable de produire de l'énergie renouvelable. On a un avantage comparatif au niveau des énergies fossiles, mais aussi des énergies nucléaires. On a le seul pays du G7 qui a un accord de libre-échange avec tous les autres pays du G7, donc qui pose le Canada dans une position très intéressante. Moi, je veux remercier mes collègues parce qu'on a aussi parlé comment on pouvait rendre l'économie canadienne plus compétitive, bâtir une économie canadienne, éliminer les barrières tarifaires entre les provinces et en même temps de se concentrer sur un plan d'action commun. Justement pour aider les travailleurs, aider nos industries à profiter des opportunités que l'économie peut apporter aujourd'hui. Et là-dessus, je devrais remercier, on a quand même des bonnes nouvelles à annoncer aujourd'hui. So with that, I want to turn to my colleague Peter Bethlenfalvy, which has the Minister of Ontario, Minister of Finance of Ontario. A lot of the a lot of discussions we had were around how can we improve remove internal trade barriers? How can we improve the Canadian economy? And I think I want to thank on behalf of colleague, the Minister of Finance of Ontario. Peter has been doing great work. He has a great announcement that's going to be well received, I would say, by Canadian businesses across the nation. But I won't steal his thunder. I will let him make the announcement, and then some colleagues will want to add because people will realize the importance of this announcement. And it's going to show the Canadian that we're not just here to talk, but we want to deliver for Canadians. And this is a great way to show that we are united in our vision and wanting to deliver for Canadians. So with that, Peter, I'll cede the floor, but I want to thank you on behalf of Canadian businesses for your sense of leadership. So with you, sir, I'll turn over to you.
Merci beaucoup, François-Philippe. Vous avez mentionné le 20e siècle. Je me souviens que le Premier ministre Laurier a parlé de le 20e siècle, le siècle pour le Canada, mais en fait, vous avez dit que le 21e siècle sera le nôtre, ici au Canada. You mentioned that the 21st century, Canada is extremely well positioned, and it reminded me of Prime Minister Laurier, who talked about the 20th century being Canada's century. This is very much our century in the world to take hold of, and you're showing tremendous leadership along with the Prime Minister. And I know that the Prime Minister and the Premiers will be meeting next week in beautiful P.E.I. Thank you, Jill Burridge, for hosting us. She's set the bar very high. Caroline, where are you, Caroline? You've got a big bar to exceed, but I know you will deliver for the Northwest Territories on behalf of all of Canada. And so thank you for that, and thank you for the leadership of every one of my colleagues who are standing with us here today. This is how Canada works. This is federalism. We are seizing the opportunity to tell the 41 million people of this country that Canada works. And today, I can say François-Philippe as evidence of Canada working. And I'm very pleased to share in that vein that Ontario is committing to join Canada's National Securities Regulatory Passport System to strengthen the economy and reduce red tape for businesses across the country. As such, today, I've asked and directed the Ontario Securities Commission to build upon the discussions for Ontario's full participation in the passport system.
Bravo.
Merci. Merci. Merci beaucoup. Je suis heureux d'annoncer que l'Ontario s'engage à adhérer au régime national de passeport en matière de réglementation des valeurs mobilières au Canada, afin de renforcer l'économie et de réduire les formalités administratives pour les entreprises de tout le pays. Joining the passport system will help streamline regulatory processes, reduce unnecessary duplication, and make it easier for businesses to access capital and operate across provincial borders. It further supports efforts by governments across Canada to remove interprovincial trade barriers and create a stronger, more integrated Canadian economy. Ontario's participation represents an important step toward greater regulatory harmonization while maintaining strong investor protection and market oversight. We call on all of the provinces and territories to continue working together to advance a national approach to internal trade that benefits businesses, investors, and workers across Canada. Nous invitons les autres provinces et les autres territoires à poursuivre leur collaboration pour faire progresser l'élaboration d'une approche nationale qui profitera aux entreprises, aux investisseurs et aux travailleurs de partout au pays. This is another example of Ontario continuing to lead the way in breaking down interprovincial trade barriers, but it cannot be a one-way street. Ontario's expectations are that at the same time the details of the passport are being negotiated, other provinces will agree to continue eliminating all provincial barriers to unleash an estimated additional boost to Canada's economy of up to $200 billion to GDP per annum. And this is not something that any province can do alone. We need to all work together, and we're all committed to that end. So Ontario joining the passport agreement is an important step towards building a more competitive, resilient, and self-reliant economy, but must be paired with an urgent ambition of eliminating other interprovincial trade barriers. I'm very grateful for the support of my colleagues, not least of which the Minister of Quebec, Girard, Minister des Finances, who has been pushing this agenda, I'm sure, even before he became Finance Minister. And we've been talking about this in Canada since 2008. But when we come together, and thanks to your leadership, we can show the country that we can get things done. So with that, I pass it to the Minister of Finance of Quebec, Éric Girard.
Merci beaucoup. À mon tour de remercier l'île du Prince-Édouard pour son accueil exceptionnel, et il ne faut jamais sous-estimer l'importance de ces rencontres, de connaître ses homologues. Les discussions bilatérales, informelles, sont très importantes pour faire progresser notre économie dans ces temps qui sont extrêmement difficiles. Alors, deux sujets intéressent toujours les ministres des Finances. D'une part, l'économie et d'autre part, les finances publiques. Au niveau de l'économie, il faut bien dire la priorité reste la révision de l'accord de libre-échange et l'élimination complète des tarifs sectoriels qui impactent notamment de façon très importante l'Ontario et le Québec qui ont les industries manufacturières en proportion de leur économie les plus importantes. Alors, c'est très important que les tarifs sectoriels qui sont injustes, injustifiés, soient retirés et qu'on revienne à un libre-échange complet de biens et services en Amérique du Nord. Bien sûr, on a des responsabilités, améliorer le commerce interprovincial, investir au niveau de la défense, stimuler les investissements des entreprises. Et aujourd'hui, il y avait la décision de la Banque du Canada et nous devons tous réaliser que les prix ne baisseront pas. Et donc, pour aider les Canadiens, on doit renforcer notre économie, augmenter les revenus pour que les revenus en proportion des prix soient plus élevés. C'est ça qui va aider les Canadiens. Au niveau des finances publiques, nous avons souligné l'importance que lors du prochain budget fédéral, le gouvernement fédéral rende permanentes les allocations bilatérales qui ont été négociées au niveau de la santé mentale, des soins à domicile et des soins de longue durée, ainsi que le plancher de 5 % au niveau de la croissance des transferts en santé, parce que c'est le poste budgétaire le plus important des provinces et territoires. En terminant, je veux parler du régime de passeport. Et je sais que parmi vous, il y a plusieurs experts en constitution. Les valeurs mobilières au Canada, il y a toujours eu des débats. Ce sont des juridictions partagées. Et lorsqu'on parle du régime national de passeport, c'est important de préciser là, que ce n'est pas un régime fédéral. C'est bien l'ensemble des provinces et territoires qui assument leurs responsabilités au niveau des valeurs mobilières et qui reconnaissent les décisions de chacune des juridictions au bénéfice des entreprises et de l'efficacité de notre secteur financier. C'est donc extrêmement important et je salue la décision de l'Ontario. Je salue le courage, le leadership, en fait, du ministre des Finances de l'Ontario qui dans ses gestes, reconnaît l'importance d'un secteur financier en santé important au Canada. Je remercie aussi, bien sûr, ma collègue Brenda Bailey de la Colombie-Britannique avec qui on a travaillé très fort sur ce dossier. C'est depuis 2008 que le régime de passeport a été créé. Et aujourd'hui, c'est très important pour l'industrie du secteur financier. Je remercie aussi l'Alberta qui a mené cette bataille avec le Québec et la Colombie-Britannique. Alors, merci à tous et c'était un plaisir, toujours un plaisir de travailler avec vous. Brenda.
Hello, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. It's wonderful to be here in P.E.I. with finance ministers who represent all of Canada. We're here. I'm from Vancouver Island. We're here in P.E.I. I have colleagues who are here from the territories, from Nunavut, from Newfoundland. We truly are from sea to sea to sea. Today's announcement is really about the continued work to bring down trade barriers. We have so many economic headwinds that we can't control. We do good work on, but we can't control. And there are some that we can. And today's announcement is one of those. And so I want to express my gratitude to Minister Bethlenfalvy in Ontario for making it complete, that across Canada, any business can register their business and do their initial public offering, their prospectus, the work that they need to do within their own jurisdiction and have it recognized across Canada. This gets rid of duplication. This gets rid of red tape. And this is important work for our businesses. C'est important pour l'entreprise de Colombie-Britannique. C'est important pour le commerce au Canada. It's important that we keep doing this work to remove barriers across our great country, and it's a pleasure to see this move forward today. Thank you.
Bravo.
Merci, Brenda.
We'll be happy to take your question. Jill, you may want to come with me. You don't want to leave me alone. All right, we'll do that together. Sir?
Thank you, Minister. The ministers will now take questions. One question, one follow-up. Les ministres allons maintenant prendre des questions. Une question en fait, un suivi. We'll start with Cody, CBC.
Hi, it's Cody with CBC News. We're talking a lot today about unity, breaking down trade barriers, but there's a trade barrier going up in New Brunswick, which is going to toll at the border. So how do you explain that when you talk about knocking down trade barriers? One is going up.
Well, listen, I'll let René to expand on that, the minister from New Brunswick, but I think you should, this is a great announcement today. I mean, what you just witnessed and the country witnessed at home, the fact that the country has come together on this mutual recognition, I think the ministers have been speaking. This is something that's been in the works since 2008, you mentioned. And today, you see us coming together. Not only discussion, but action. And that's what Canadians want to see. This is work in progress. It's true that my colleagues have said one of the main themes was how can we perfect the one Canadian economy? How can we invest in our economy? How can we benefit from the investments we're doing in defense and infrastructure? Removing the interprovincial trade barrier is one of those things. We can increase the GDP, we can increase the size of the economy with that. This is a major milestone with respect to having one capital market that is functioning across the country in terms of mutual recognition. I want to applaud the leadership of the provinces. Obviously, we support that. We have still some work to do. There's still interprovincial trade barrier. We need to keep the momentum that has been built. The premiers and the prime minister will be here next week as well, and I'm convinced this is also going to be part of their discussion. But with respect to the specific issue you have, we may ask René to provide you more feedback in terms of their discussion and their thinking with respect to that particular issue. René?
Thank you for the question. Actually, I'm quite proud of New Brunswick's role in reducing interprovincial barriers. We were the first to sign multiple MOUs to reduce that. Specific to the tolling, it's about infrastructure usage. I think you could probably ask anybody in this room, and there's some kind of tolling on some of their roads to make sure that that infrastructure is viable and is available to people that are crossing our province. So we are just trying to make sure that that infrastructure is relied upon, just like every other province, any other jurisdiction.
Except Islanders will have to pay that as well as any other tolls. They pay to get off the island, they pay in to get to Nova Scotia. So life will become even more unaffordable for Islanders if that toll goes up. So Minister Burridge, do you have a response to that?
Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to speak for New Brunswick. I know that it is going to be an extra pressure on Islanders. It's going to be an extra pressure on island businesses that are exporting goods over to New Brunswick. I understand all that. I think, yeah, it will be New Brunswick that'll have to speak to that. I appreciate the question, but all I know is that, yes, you are right. It's going to add a little extra pressure to our businesses and our residents. It's not ideal, but that was a decision that New Brunswick has made.
Next question, Raphaël, prochaine question.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Bonjour, Raphaël, Radio-Canada. Ça fait 2 semaines maintenant que les États-Unis ont annoncé qu'ils ne renouvelleront pas l'accord Canada-États-Unis-Mexique sous sa forme actuelle. Qu'est-ce que l'ambassadeur du Canada aux États-Unis, M. Wiseman, avait à vous annoncer de nouveau aujourd'hui?
Bien, d'abord, merci pour votre question. C'était, je pense, une très bonne présentation qu'on a eue de l'ambassadeur du Canada à Washington pour remettre les pendules à l'heure aussi, pour savoir, parce qu'évidemment, il y aura une question de revue annuelle, mais l'accord demeure en vigueur, évidemment, et aussi de regarder de façon sectorielle ce qu'on peut faire ensemble. Vous savez, moi, je dis souvent que les ministres des Finances, c'est ceux qui sont là pour faire fonctionner les choses, c'est-à-dire dans nos budgets respectifs, on travaille ensemble, on se dit comment on peut appuyer les secteurs, comment on peut appuyer l'industrie. Vous avez de beaux exemples, je vous dirais, à travers le pays. Regardez ce qu'on a fait ensemble dans la foresterie, par exemple, le secteur de la foresterie, ce qu'on a fait dans le secteur de l'automobile, ce qu'on fait dans le secteur de l'acier, dans le secteur de l'aluminium. C'est clair qu'on doit toujours continuer à mener la bataille pour, justement, le ministre Girard en parlait, éliminer les tarifs sectoriels. et ensuite de ça, trouver des moyens d'appuyer nos industries, nos travailleurs durant cette période-là de transition, parce qu'il y a une période de transition. C'est un travail qu'on continue de faire. Puis je pense que ce que vous voyez aujourd'hui, ce qui est important, je pense, c'est qu'il y a une unité. Le pays est uni, les ministres sont unis, on comprend l'urgence d'agir, on a une compréhension mutuelle des enjeux, des opportunités. Et l'ambassadeur du Canada à Washington, justement, nous a permis de clarifier certaines choses, mais aussi de continuer l'engagement qu'on va avoir entre le gouvernement fédéral et les provinces et les territoires pour faire avancer, évidemment, les différents dossiers sectoriels face à nos partenaires à Washington.
Puis, concernant les mesures pour miser sur le commerce intérieur au Canada, la Fédération canadienne de l'entreprise indépendante dit que des petites entreprises au pays ne voient pas encore d'amélioration. Ça reste difficile de vendre des produits au-delà des frontières. Où est-ce que ça bloque? Si on peut vous entendre, M. Champagne, puis aussi les ministres qui parlent français, Québec, Ontario, Nouveau-Brunswick, par exemple.
Tout à fait. Bien, ça va me faire plaisir. Écoutez, j'ai rencontré justement le président de la Fédération des entreprises indépendantes, M. Kelly, au début de la semaine. Je lui ai fait part de la rencontre qu'on aurait entre les ministres des Finances, des provinces et des territoires. Vous avez raison, il y a du progrès qui a été fait. Maintenant, ce qu'on doit faire, c'est maintenir le momentum, c'est-à-dire qu'il faut compléter le travail qu'on a initié parce qu'on sait que c'est une des façons d'accroître l'activité économique au pays. On a discuté avec les collègues, il y a plusieurs MOU, il y a plusieurs ententes qui sont en place maintenant. Comment on peut faciliter, comment on peut rendre ça plus simple, parce que l'idée, c'est comment on peut réduire les coûts de faire des affaires à travers les différentes provinces, territoires à travers le pays. Ce qui est important de retenir pour les gens qui nous écoutent à la maison aujourd'hui, c'est que justement, on est conscient du travail à faire. Et il y a un engagement commun. Regardez aujourd'hui l'annonce qu'on vient de faire. Pour les gens qui nous regardent, c'est une annonce importante de voir que l'Ontario se joint à ce système-là qu'on a appelé des passeports pour les valeurs mobilières à travers le pays. C'est une avancée importante. Parce que si vous pensez, par exemple, au PME, le ministre Girard en a parlé, le ministre de l'Ontario aussi, ça va permettre pour ceux qui ont besoin d'aller chercher du capital, de faciliter cette démarche-là. Donc ça, c'est le genre de mesures concrètes. Vous savez, il y a une chose, c'est d'en parler, l'autre chose, c'est de le faire. Je pense qu'aujourd'hui, vous voyez dans l'action, dans l'ampleur de la mesure, ce désir-là de continuer. Est-ce qu'il y a encore du travail à faire? Définitivement. Est-ce qu'on est sur le bon chemin? Oui. Est-ce qu'on va continuer de travailler ensemble? Définitivement. La réponse est oui. Mais là-dessus, ça va me faire plaisir. Je ne sais pas si peut-être mon collègue Peter veut en rajouter sur cette question-là des barrières, d'éliminer les barrières dans les provinces. Moi, je veux dire, il y a beaucoup de collègues qui ont fait beaucoup de chemin. Il y a notre collègue aussi de l'Alberta, le ministre Dixon, qui est avec nous, que je dois saluer parce que tous les collègues sont unis pour faire le travail qu'il faut pour justement poursuivre ce travail-là qui a été bien avancé, mais on doit le compléter pour rendre ça de plus en plus simple pour les petites et moyennes entreprises à travers le pays. Peter?
Oui, monsieur, merci. Oui, c'est très important. À l'Ontario, on a baissé le taux d'impôt pour les petites et moyennes entreprises dans mon budget 2026. Mais c'est seulement une étape. Il faut accélérer ce processus pour éliminer les barrières, sans doute. Et nous sommes... il y a beaucoup d'unité entre nous pour cet but et nous serons... We're going to double down dans cette œuvre.
Éric?
Oui, mais je vous remercie pour votre question. Puis la langue française est très précise. Je dirais pas que ça bloque au niveau du commerce interprovincial. Je dirais qu'il y a de la résistance. C'est très ambitieux ce qu'on veut accomplir. On parle de plus de compétition, par exemple, dans l'industrie de la construction. On parle de la mobilité de la main-d'œuvre, la reconnaissance des compétences pour l'ensemble du pays. On parle du secteur des transports, mais en même temps, on ne veut pas éliminer toute la réglementation au niveau des transports. On veut s'assurer que la sécurité reste importante. Alors, ce qu'on a convenu aujourd'hui, c'est que nous avons fait des progrès, mais qu'il reste du chemin à faire et qu'il faut maintenir le momentum. Et vraiment, c'est important parce que il y en avait beaucoup de barrières au commerce interprovincial et on a fait des progrès. Aujourd'hui, un progrès important au niveau du commerce des valeurs mobilières, mais il reste beaucoup de travail à faire. Et moi, c'est ce que j'ai entendu aujourd'hui, c'est qu'on doit maintenir la pression, continuer le travail et effectivement s'entendre pour qu'il n'y ait plus presque plus ou plus du tout de barrières au commerce interprovincial à l'intérieur du Canada.
Mais justement, étant propriétaire de petite entreprise, le langage des PME, pour moi, c'est vraiment les relations. Donc, même si on a réduit les barrières interprovinciales réglementaires, bâtir ces relations ça va prendre un peu de temps dans ce nouveau climat. Je pense pour M. Girard, le rendez-vous Acadie-Québec, qui prend tout un nouveau sens maintenant, où que les gens peuvent bâtir ces relations et commencer à échanger dans les biens et services. Donc, ça va prendre peut-être un petit peu de retard, mais j'ai bon espoir qu'on va voir les résultats très bientôt.
Merci.
Merci. Next question, Maria, CTV.
Yeah. My first question is about federal investments. You've announced billions of dollars on spending on major projects, including a pipeline and defense in the last weeks. Can you guarantee you're not going to raise taxes on Canadians for the remainder of your term as a consequence?
Well, I think, first of all, they're called investments because we're building the nation, and I think Canadians understand that. I'll remind you the word of the leader of the International Energy Agency. Fatih Birol was here recently in Canada. Actually was in Montreal. And he said this was once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Canada to seize the moment and be ambitious, to be this energy superpower. You know, what our partners around the world, and I just came back from the Middle East with the Prime Minister just last week, and what they see in Canada, and it's something that everyone is trying that are seeking from partners is trust. I think Canada is seen as a trusted partner, a partner of choice. And he said something very profound, you know, to Canadians. He said the world energy architecture is being redesigned. This is profound for someone who's been leading the International Energy Agency for 20 years to say that today the world energy architecture, because of what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz, that countries around the world are redesigning their energy architecture. Why? Because I think today countries understand the nexus between energy security, economic security, and I would say national security. And I would even add food security, because what you see in the Strait of Hormuz is not just about oil, but we had an impact on fertilizers and the impact that it could have on food security in parts of the world. So we are on a journey to re-engineer, I would say, the Canadian economy to seize these opportunities. You know, people are looking, what are the big opportunities today? Well, certainly one is with respect to energy. Oftentimes we say demography is destiny. I would say energy is destiny. Canada is blessed with you know, conventional energy, renewable energy, and nuclear energy as well. You know, people are looking at what Ontario is doing. By the way, we'll be the first G7 country to have a small modular reactor in operation. So the world is taking notice of what Canada is doing. The world is taking notice that Canada is building at speed and scale not seen in generation with partners, with Indigenous partners, with our provincial partners. And what we're doing now is basically providing the foundations for growth over decades. So yes, you need to invest, and Canadians understand the difference between spending and investing. You know, when you pay your bills at the end of the month, you're spending. You know, if you pay your telephone bills and other bills, but when you're buying a house, you're investing. So Canadians have understood when we say we're going to spend less to invest more, it's part of this thing, maintaining the fiscal anchor that we have said to Canadians, but at the same time, people at home understand that we are living at a time where you have these possibilities and opportunities which are unique, and Canada can seize them. Now, the good news is that today you see unity, you see a sense of urgency and a sense of understanding. We all understand that this is our moment, both in energy, both in artificial intelligence, in key sector of the economy, in mining, critical minerals, the knowledge economy, economy. We talk about life sciences, the kind of thing that's going to make Canada more resilient. And I'll just finish to say, for people watching at home, you know, the global events may leave people with a sense of loss of control. You know, we've seen the translation very quickly from what's happening in the Middle East to the influence in terms of affordability for people. And at a time where people are seeking certainty, what is certainty in today's world? Well, certainty is to focus on what you control. And today, the great thing that's coming out of this meeting, we're going to focus on what we can control. What can we control? Building one Canadian economy. What we can control, removing interprovincial trade barrier, and you saw a great example today. What we can control is to make sure we empower our small and medium-sized businesses to seek overseas export market, to build a more resilient economy. That's what we did in Budget 2025, generational investment, infrastructure, housing, productivity, innovation, and defense. So those are the kind of investment that are going to make Canada more resilient. And the good news for people watching is that together, the federal government and our provincial and territorial partner, we are united in seeing these opportunities, possibilities, and seizing them together for the benefit of people across the nation.
I'd appreciate your response as well as Minister Burridge's response to my next question, but feel free if any of the ministers would like to jump in. It's about budget deficits. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is all 10 provinces and 2 of the 3 territories are projecting budget deficits for the 2026 to 2027 fiscal year. That's despite major federal transfers increasing steadily. And I'm wondering first what Ottawa is prepared to do about that, and Minister Burridge, what you're hearing around the table about the pressures that are contributing to those deficits.
Yeah, this was a big topic of discussion, absolutely. We all know across the nation at the provincial and territorial level that healthcare is one of our biggest pressures that we're experiencing. So a large segment of our day today was discussing healthcare and looking at how we can work better together to deliver better healthcare. And I would add, you know, we can talk about a lot of numbers, a lot of charts, a lot of diagrams up on the wall. But what it came down to was the person in the ER, the Canadian sitting in a long-term bed. That was the top. It was right down to the person needing the care today. That's where the discussion went. So it was very focused on Islanders/Canadians today. And I think we all came together. Minister Champagne heard our pressures, and we're looking to make some progress on that moving forward and see what we can do across levels of government, because at the end of the day, and we talked about this as well, one taxpayer at the end of this, and I think that taxpayer is counting on us as multiple levels of government to come together and deliver better for them.
Minister Champagne.
Well, I think Brenda may want to say something, and I'm happy, colleagues, and I want to escape, I will come back.
Okay, thank you.
There's a lot of colleagues here who may want to speak.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And of course, British Columbia has posted a record budget, a record deficit. And what I'd like to say about that is there's a number of very important things, movement that we're taking, reducing the size of our workforce, for example, slowing capital projects. But what's really important is what's coming next, which is the results of these investments that are being made through the federal government and the provincial government collaborating, for example, the British Columbia MOU. The projects that are coming are going to drive generational wealth into British Columbia, in Canada. And so I think while we're in a challenging time, looking ahead, I can absolutely say with confidence that the world wants what Canada has. I just came from an investor relations tour in Europe. I heard that everywhere. And so while times are challenging, the collaboration that we're seeing here at this table today and that we've had with the federal government, and I know that my other colleagues are experiencing investments as well, will set us up for a very successful future.
Peter, and I know the Premier wants to
Sure. Thank you for the question. You know, the first thing I would say is we didn't ask for this trade war. We didn't ask for tariffs, and so, but it has had the impact of two things. It's unified us like I haven't seen in a long time, and it's given us a sense of urgency. And the good news is that Canada has so much to offer through collaboration, federal, provincial, territorial, municipally. We're able to look at things like, and we talked about this today, defense spending, procurement. This is a whole new world for Canada to gauge where we have talent, we have entrepreneurs, we have capital to really grow our defense capabilities, our domestic economy. You mentioned energy and the nuclear and right across the country, the pipelines. Let's not diminish the positive impact of diversifying our natural resources and getting them to market. We have so many things going for us, AI and technology. So I think this is really an opportunity because at the end of the day, we did speak with the finance minister about the absolute essential need to increase health transfers. That's almost non-negotiable. We have to do it because our citizens expect that of us. In that context, yes, we have deficits, but if you look relative to the world, our aggregate deficits are some of the lowest relative to our economy. That isn't to say we can be complacent. That isn't to say that we have an ambition to run deficits. No, we want to balance our books. But we need to invest in our people as well. So grow the economy, invest in our people and our health care, invest in things like defense and crime, of course, and in good jobs, good paying jobs in our economy. And guess what? We can achieve that here in Canada. We have the ability and the talent and the desire to do that. So I think our prospects, the 21st century, is Canada's.
Yeah, just briefly, coming from Nunavut, the cost of living pressures that we're facing in the territory, whether it's delivering health care or raising a family, it's tremendously challenging. And so that's where gatherings like this are so important for our territory. We're very appreciative of the understanding and the support from our federal partners, as well as from our colleagues across the country. The pressures that are happening right across southern Canada, they're being magnified in Nunavut and in the north, largely due to lack of foundational infrastructure. Coming from Nunavut, we're the only jurisdiction in Canada without a terrestrial link to the rest of the country. We have no links to the rest of the country in terms of hydroelectricity or fiber optic internet. So those are foundational investments that would help us in terms of the cost of living. I'm just going to quickly state that inuktitut ila tamani katimakata uyudlo apta Nunavut mingartu tigut qobya hudlaik tigut ikayoktok taw himaslutadlu Canada miutaw katigiapti nun aviktok himanya gayaw yunut tamarko akitok palle maginaw yaktut pekoti himalu tigiaptigu natayliu daganiudlo ilwan akitok palle na himalu tigiaptigu gabumatoka kuninga kemayut nalatcha mata tuki hiomatcha ni luklutiglu matna kemayabut mana ako tiga kang na aptigu nuna bumio pitjutigilugin omatna.
You want me to conclude that answer we provided? Yeah, no. Listen, listen. When I look at the federal government, the first thing that we said with the Prime Minister we would spend less so we can invest more. I think you've seen that in the latest, the latest number we presented to you. I mean, our deficit is 11 billion lower than what was projected for 25. So I think that you have seen that we are a good fiscal manager. We have restored fiscal responsibility and discipline in Ottawa, and I think that's what Canadians expected. I would say Canadians have been tightening their belt for a number of years, and it was about time we do the same in Ottawa. We were able to the comprehensive expenditure review to find $60 billion in savings. This is a good exercise. I mean, we did it, and I think it's about being more efficient, renewing our, reviewing processes, using technology, providing better services, and better value for money for Canadians. At the end of the day, my colleague said there's only one taxpayer. That taxpayer is expecting us to work together. The kind of unity you see today, urgency, understanding, I think, that's what people want to see across our nation, and a level of ambition. I wish, every one of you could be in the same room when we were at our meeting, but what is unique about this country is that you see the level of ambition across the nation, across industry, workers and leaders, whether it's municipal, provincial, federal, territorial. We understand that we have, we need to seize that moment and be ambitious. Colleagues have talked, I think this century is a century where Canada is really at the forefront. We hear it, the world wants and needs what Canada has to offer, and we are really committed. Look at the team behind. The team is very committed to raise to this level of ambition, seize that moment, and make sure that through the budgets that we present across the country, we provide the foundation for businesses, for workers, for industry to seize these opportunities. And today's a great example of how we are stronger together and the good work that we can achieve for Canadians across our nation.
Thank you, Minister. We'll now take two last questions online, starting with Catherine Tunney at the CBC.
Hello, can you hear me from Ottawa?
We can. We have Minister.
I have a question for Minister Champagne. There still seems to be some confusion and dispute about how the Gordie Howe Bridge tolls will be divvied up. Can you kind of walk us through how the tolls will be shared and confirm, is it half of the net profits?
Well, I think the Prime Minister already responded to that fairly. I think it was very clear, in terms of sharing the net proceeds, and the key word is net, because it's net of the expenses, of the cost of capital with the U.S. side, and that sharing would be also invested in the community. So I think it's, in a way, it's a win-win in the sense that these sums would be reinvested in the community, obviously, on the U.S. side of the border when it comes to the sharing part. But that's going to increase trade and commerce, and that's what we want to see. This is going to be one of the most important. When I was infrastructure minister at the time, we were saying it would be the most important crossing in North America. So I think it's good news that the bridge is going to be open. This is the kind of things we want to see. I always say that when I go in Washington, I always say, hope you're happy to see me, because Canada is by far your largest customer. We buy more from the United States than China, Japan, and the UK combined. 2/3 of the United States as Canada is their first export market. So the opening of the bridge should be celebrated on both sides of the border, because this is going to be good for Canada, good for our partners down south, and I think we reached a position that is allowing the bridge to open, to see investments that will further trade, and making sure that we provide that great infrastructure for commerce to be fluid between Canada and the United States.
Follow-up?
I'm sure you've seen there's some pressure, including from the opposition, to release the agreement. Is that something that the government is open to?
I'm not sure I got your question. If you can repeat, I'm just trying to, with the sound here, to make sure I can understand your question properly. If you don't mind repeating, just...
Sorry, there's a mute issue. Just still on the Gordie Howe Bridge, I'm sure you've seen the opposition is pushing for the agreement to be made public, the details about the sharing agreement to be made public. Is that something that the government is open to?
Listen, I'd have to defer to the minister responsible for that to provide you a more complete answer. But I think for folks watching at home, I think bottom line, the bridge is going to be open. bottom line, you'll see trade facilitated between Canada and the United States. And I would say bottom line, I think, and I don't want to speak for my colleague, the Minister of Finance of Ontario, but this is a key piece of infrastructure to facilitate trade. You think about, what we have on the auto sector and the kind of exports we have between Canada and the United States. We have achieved an outcome that allow the bridge to be open. And also, I think that through negotiation, this is an outcome that's going to serve both countries, but at the same time allows for the bridge to open as quickly as possible, which is what we wanted to see. This is a great piece of infrastructure. It's good news for Canada. It's good news for Ontario, and I would say for all the manufacturers in the United States and their companies which use that logistic link between Canada and the United States. I'm sure they wanted to see that asset open, and it's also a testament that when we face issues, we're able to resolve them. People have asked before, how are you operating with our southern neighbor? Well, we take one issue at a time, we work on it, and we find ways to resolve them. That's a great example of that, us working together, resolving an issue that will provide benefit on both sides of the border.
Merci.
You want to add to that, Minister?
I would just say, I know that's been a challenge for the federal government to negotiate that. We're very thankful for landing it. And I think this is a good deal because, as you said, Minister, this is going to open up trade not just for Ontario, but for Canada, not just for Michigan, for all of the United States. It's in their interests to have this bridge open. It's in our interest to have this bridge open. And I just want to congratulate the whole team in Ottawa and the Ambassador Wiseman as well, who played a key role in landing this deal, and the ministers involved. It's a win-win, and that's what we hope to see more of between our great country and our great friends south of the border.
Thank you, Minister. Last question, Emily Bergeron, La Presse canadienne.
Madame Bergeron, on vous écoute. Ou on aimerait vous écouter, je devrais dire.
Oui, est-ce que vous m'entendez maintenant?
Là, on vous entend.
Oui, bonjour, Monsieur Champagne. Ma question est pour vous et le ministre Girard aussi également. Bien sûr, il y a l'annonce aujourd'hui du gouvernement de l'Ontario, mais ça fait quand même 1 an et demi qu'il y a eu des premières annonces d'éliminer certaines barrières interprovinciales au commerce. Du côté du fédéral, ça remonte sous l'ancien gouvernement Trudeau, dont vous avez fait partie. Est-ce qu'il y a des données qui mesurent les effets déjà de ces barrières-là qui sont levées peu à peu? Est-ce qu'on voit une augmentation des échanges et de la mobilité de la main-d'œuvre? Donc, pour vous, le ministre Champagne, et pour le ministre Girard, si vous avez des exemples spécifiques au Québec, des changements déjà qu'on peut voir.
D'abord, merci pour votre question. C'est une excellente question parce que ce qu'on a fait d'abord, c'est du côté fédéral, c'est d'éliminer toutes les barrières au niveau fédéral. Il y a un bon nombre d'ententes qui ont été conclues entre les provinces pour faciliter le commerce interprovincial. Justement, on parlait avec les collègues aujourd'hui comment on peut faciliter j'allais dire, l'accès à ces accords-là. Quand j'ai rencontré le président Dan Kelly, qui représente les entreprises indépendantes au Canada, dans le fond, les PME canadiennes, ce qu'on se disait, c'est qu'il fallait trouver un moyen de réduire les coûts pour nos PME, parce qu'utiliser ces accords-là, vous savez, il y a plusieurs accords sectoriels avec différentes provinces. Donc, il y avait un désir aujourd'hui, je peux vous dire, un désir profond de travailler ensemble entre les différents ministres des Finances, avec nos collègues, de simplifier tout ça, d'arriver à quelque chose de plus simple pour permettre justement à nos PME de pouvoir utiliser ces accords-là qui sont déjà en place, voir ceux qu'on devra faire pour poursuivre le travail. On a parlé du momentum qu'on avait créé, qu'on doit maintenir. Et en même temps, je pense que vous le voyez aussi, le commerce interprovincial augmente au pays. Et c'est sûr que ces ententes-là, honnêtement, facilitent ce genre d'échange des échanges à travers les différentes provinces canadiennes. On veut favoriser ça, puis c'est ce qu'on va faire avec les collègues, c'est de trouver un moyen de réduire, j'allais dire, la complexité qu'on peut trouver à travers les différents accords pour favoriser le travail des PME. Mais je pense que, comme vous dites, il y a encore du travail à faire là-dessus, mais avec nos collègues, dont le ministre Girard aujourd'hui, on était vraiment en mode solution pour dire comment on peut continuer ce travail-là. C'est un travail important, puis on le dit, à un moment où chacun des gouvernements, chacun des paliers de gouvernement cherche à libérer des ressources pour investir dans des secteurs importants. Là, on a une opportunité entre nous. C'est-à-dire qu'il y en a qui disent qu'on pourrait aller chercher jusqu'à 200 milliards en termes de PIB à travers le pays si on éliminait toutes les barrières. Alors, c'est certain que dans le contexte actuel, on a tout avantage entre les ministres des Finances et les premiers ministres des provinces aussi, des territoires, de travailler ensemble pour poursuivre le travail qui a été fait. Mais je vais laisser la parole au ministre Girard qui peut vous donner des exemples justement où le Québec a été un leader en la matière. Monsieur le ministre.
Bien, effectivement, merci pour votre question et ça prend du temps pour mesurer les effets, mais je répondrai par des contre-exemples. C'est-à-dire qu'on sait maintenant que le retrait de l'Angleterre, de la Communauté économique européenne, a coûté énormément au produit intérieur brut, a été négatif pour l'économie britannique. On sait que les barrières tarifaires qui ont été imposées par les États-Unis, à partir de février 2025, 18 mois plus tard au Canada, les impacts sont très importants. Et donc, il y a vraiment un message. Lorsque vous érigez des barrières, vous nuisez à l'économie. Et c'est pour ça que le travail qui est fait pour retirer des barrières au commerce va nous donner des dividendes sur un horizon de 12 à 18 mois. Et puis, j'ajouterais même, puisqu'on est à la veille d'une élection au Québec, qu'il y a un message pour ceux qui veulent ériger des barrières autour du Québec, mais économiquement, ce serait mauvais. Merci beaucoup.
Suivi, Amélie.
Madame Bergeron, on vous écoute.
Oui, donc pour le ministre Girard aussi, vous avez parlé de votre demande au niveau du gouvernement du Québec que le fédéral pérennise certains transferts, notamment en santé mentale, le 5% de hausse pour les transferts en santé. Avez-vous reçu une oreille attentive et assez d'insistance aussi de vos homologues sur ces points-là aussi?
En fait, le leadership sur cette question venait de l'ensemble des provinces et territoires. On fait tous face aux mêmes défis, c'est-à-dire que la croissance des dépenses en santé est supérieure à l'augmentation des transferts fédéraux. Et donc, il y avait unanimité des provinces et territoires sur la priorité pour le prochain budget fédéral, c'est-à-dire le plancher des transferts est à 5 % mais descend à 3 % à l'année 27-28. Et il y a des transferts bilatéraux en santé mentale, soins de longue durée et soins à domicile qui expirent et qui créent un manque de financement et un risque pour le cadre financier de l'ensemble des provinces et territoires. Donc, le leadership vient de l'ensemble du Conseil de la Fédération.
Thank you, Minister. That concludes today's presser. Ceci met fin à cette conférence de presse. Merci.
Merci tout le monde. Merci. À bientôt. Au revoir. Merci.
Merci.